conversation started on digital wellness, and now we're going to talk about new products that interface with kids. And I have the opportunity to introduce Amanda Gummer, who is the founder of Good Play Guide. I met Amanda when, I think at Toy Fair a couple of years ago, and she always has a psychologist's view as well as a parent on what it is to teach play and to provide good R&D on products. Amanda, please join us.
Thank you. You want me here, right? Thank you, everybody. It's my great pleasure to be joined on the stage by Sten Kirkbak, who is the co-founder and chief brand officer from XPLORA, launching the first multi-award winning wearable phone for kids. Sten's now working hard on optimizing other wearable tech products for kids. And Sean Herman, who's the author of Screen Captured, one of Amazon's bestsellers. And I believe we are giving away some books today, aren't we?
We are.
Brilliant. The experiences of his 9-year-old inspired him to start Kinzoo, which is a messaging platform for families that prioritizes children's privacy. Now, we're going to try and make this a bit more conversational. So I'm going to start asking some questions. I'll chip in a bit, but we're going to get going with the first question. And I think, Sten, how does tech encourage agency and empower children, do you think?
Well, from our point of view, working with kids in the age 4 to 11, we have at least experienced two various perspectives where we have seen a lot of change. One is the parents' general concern of not being able to reach their kids if for some reason something should happen, or just feel more safe by knowing that they could reach them. And what that sometimes then result in is that instead of allowing the kids to go out and play and join various things, if they have that concern, it has happened that they rather have had them to stay at home, which means less activity. And knowing that kids today consume more than 6 hours in front of a screen being not active, it's obviously a big importance that we can incentivize kids to be out. So that is one perspective. And the other perspective is also what we have seen when we can incentivize and reward kids by being active, something they self can make control of, how they stay active and get rewarded. That is something we have seen really have spiked the level of activity per day. Two great ways of us using technology.
Yeah, and I think at the Good Play Guide, we advocate a balanced play pyramid. In the same way that you balance your nutritional diet, you balance your kids' leisure time, and using tech to raise the play patterns up to the sort of superfoods of the play diet, I think is really powerful. So I think that's a really important point. Sean?
Yeah, I think that we have a similar view when it comes to technology, and that's a great stat. 6 hours in front of screens every day. We look at, broadly speaking, what kids can do on technology, and I kind of look at 4 different buckets. They can consume, and I think that's what most of us know, those of us that are parents. We're used to our kids watching a lot of YouTube and that sort of thing. So we look at consumption as one aspect of what we can do. But I think the true empowerment comes when we lean into places where I think tech can really actually shine. So I'm talking about real connection. Not chasing likes on Instagram and things like that, but actually really connecting with people at a personal level. We talk about creativity, the things that kids can do online is quite astounding. And then we look at learning, and tech can enable learning in unprecedented ways. So if we can unlock those, I think that's when the true potential of tech starts to actually shine, and we start to think about it a little more positively as parents, as opposed to just watching my daughter mouth open, watching YouTube for hours on end. So that's what we're trying to focus on.
I think that's really important too, the kind of the emotional side of things, using tech to empower kids' emotional well-being. It's seen as I think we get a lot of kickback from, certainly from parents and play purists around how tech can be used, tech is impersonal, and actually using it to connect people and create that emotional well-being and get kids active and keep in touch, and just being able to have those connections, the family connections. Both of your tech products encourage that and help with that attachment and the well-being. So I think that's really, really important to highlight as well. Okay, I have a question. My next question, I think, in terms of, I don't know how many inventors and tech developers we've got in the room here, but what's your take in terms of the industry's responsibility when we're making tech products for kids?
Yeah, I think I probably don't have to convince a lot of people in this room, but I think the first thing that we need to do is acknowledge that kids are online and in massive numbers. So the stats say that 40% of new internet users are children, and they represent about a third of all users. But to this point, it seems like as a parent, I was almost kind of forced to like push it away or feel like I had to push tech away. So I think the first thing is acknowledging that they are online, and what that means is instead of focusing on whether we should let them in front of the screen or not, what we have to actually focus on is when they are in front of the screen, how do we make that more productive time? So I think there's a lot of responsibility to go around. Our personal belief is no matter what anybody thinks of Facebook and some of the big companies, their business model just doesn't work that well when it comes to kids. Privacy has to be prioritized, and in terms of responsibility, I think what we need to see is a stronger ecosystem around kids technology. And what that means is new companies, greenfield, building with child privacy at the core, and that's what we're trying to do. But also, what that requires is funding. So I think we need a stronger VC community around it. I think that we need parents to buy into new business models that don't rely on the capture and sale of data. And so there's a lot of responsibility to go around. What I'd like to see is more greenfield solutions from people that actually prioritize child safety and privacy, which are, I think, more interwoven than it is with adults who I can have issues with privacy, but it's probably not going to put me in a compromising position. That isn't necessarily true as much with kids.
Very true, very true. Good point.
The way we look at it as, since we work with both hardware production of a physical product, the watch itself, and also the software and platform side, we see from an entrepreneur or technology responsibility point of view is that the startups or the company themselves need to focus a lot on creating safe products, certified product. What we currently see as a big challenge, particularly from the startup, some of the markets that are entering into both Europe and US, is that they are creating this momentum right now based on the hype of wearable and this industry. So too many products sometimes are being released into the market, not being certified with platform or software solution, not potentially being GDPR compliant or the equivalent here in the US, which all builds this trust foundation or can ruin this trust foundation from the parents. So I think that is one very important perspective. And also on the content side, since we're saying that 6 hours is spent in front of the screen, if you add up the number we are sleeping, we are going to school some hours, basically that leaves very little space for being active. So two fundamental dimensions, and that is to your point as well, how do we spend that time? Not necessarily just on content being gaming or being sort of non-rewarding content, but something about educational content, etc., that can give you some more insight. But also that we have a more balanced view on activity versus screen time. So if inventors or startups and larger companies as well can create incentives for kids to be more active and potentially use that reward inside the game or the screen time afterward, that will be two big steps for moving this forward in the right direction as well.
Yeah, and I think we have, as an industry, we have an obligation to make sure that we're preparing our kids for the future. And that isn't just the STEM learning that you can very easily get through tech play, but it's the emotional well-being, it's the physical activity, it's the resilience, it's the self-esteem, it's all of those things. And I think it's really important that we as an industry are using tech to promote holistic child development and not just using it for what it's really easy to use it for, which is the STEM learning and the information gathering, the consumption side of things. So I think for me, one of the key missions, if you like, in the sort of CES conference is finding those companies that are really doing that. And I've seen some really good examples actually here. So it's really nice to see people embracing that and getting that. I mean, you guys are really good examples of people doing the right thing. But yeah, I think making sure that we're looking for the whole person and we're helping kids thrive in a digital space is more than just about, telling people to put their the content online and giving it to the kids and letting them get on with it. So I think it's...
And also one perspective I think is very easy for both our generation and general for company and development today is actually to realize how interested the coming generation, kids 4, 5, 6, 7, how much they are actually concerned about the future when it comes to their well-behaving going forward in time, but also the environment. And what we have realized when we have done various pilots and tests with that audience is that our technology, for example, reward 1,000 steps into one coin. And that coin, digital coin, you can use to either then get some screen time because then you have been active first. But what we have seen is actually encouragement for kids to instead use that reward to benefit either good social program, like giving back to society or embracing environments or people or kids in need. That they actually have a much more refreshed look at how we actually can give things back than we adults would like to look at that as well. And that is something that we can accomplish both good content, we can emphasize activity using technology, but also that reward from the kids can be given back to either the future or the environment, which is very, very exciting.
That's a really good idea, really nice concept. I'm very aware that the time is ticking, so I think just before we wrap up, I would like to ask you both if you've got a piece of advice for people in the audience on something that, learnings from your journey in developing your products, or advice if people are looking at making stuff for kids, what would your take home be? Sten, do you want to start?
In general, I would like to say, as having 4 kids myself, being a parent, one good observation all the time is actually to be good role models. Because eventually kids will mirror what you're doing as a parent or as adult. And we have to ask ourselves sometimes this question, am I good putting away my phone? Am I good sort of giving the attention to the kids when we are talking, not looking at my phone? And very often that answer is no. And kids are mirroring exactly what we are doing. So then when we come back to them and say, you shouldn't always spend time in front of the screen, you should be more active, it's quite sort of strange when we're not doing that ourselves.
A little bit hypocritical, isn't it?
So being good role models, and also as entrepreneurs and company taking that into the philosophy of how we build content and how we build the purpose of our brands is very, very important. So it's a consistency of that. And that I think is something everyone can relate to very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sean?
Yeah, I think overall I'm encouraged. I think I look at Stan and myself, we're parents. And I don't think we look at the kids segment as something we're looking to expand into. It's not something that, hey, there's an audience here, how can we get in there and monetize and expand our base or get more users and whatever it might be. So I'm encouraged that we're starting to see more and more companies that are actually prioritizing child safety and privacy online. And then the other thing I would leave people with is, technology isn't coming, it's here when it comes to our kids. So to me, technology, as my daughter kind of aged, it felt like it was always kind of an all or nothing type of decision. So to me, it's not about like when do you introduce it or how many minutes of screen time a day, but technology has arrived. So how do we incorporate it better into their life? Because to your point earlier, they're going to be on it, and actually they can be doing some really cool things and building some great skills by using technology. But it does require some new business models. It requires some new products and people building them with the right motivations. So that's what I would leave people with.
I think that's very good too. Yeah, I think looking at the motivations of why, and a lot of people, I think, more in I've seen some great health stuff around it, but in the kids space, I think wanting to make the kids' lives better, wanting to give the kids a better future, all of that stuff, I think I'm seeing more of that than I did 10 years ago. So I think that's important. I think my take home for this would probably be around the reaction that we've had to the Good Play Guide since we've been here, which is very much a kind of using the technology for good and that balance of play. So the superfoods of the play diet being active, social, imaginative, free play. I'm very happy. We're on the we're 44555, the stand, if anybody wants to come and talk to me about this later. And just using that model of balancing the play diet, making sure kids are getting all aspects of play for holistic development, and using technology to promote the good stuff and reducing the sedentary, solitary, passive play. I mean, everybody needs to zone out. We all eat a bit of chocolate now and again. As long as you're getting enough of the good stuff, I think it's not a problem. But I think where we're at with kids tech needs to be much more focused on the superfoods of the play diet, if you like. And I think we're just about out of time, so I'm going to thank Sean and Sten, and we will be around if anybody has any questions.
I think they cut you 2 minutes short, so if you want to take some questions,
okay,
you can.
I was watching the clock down here. Well, do we have time to do Sean's giveaway?
We
then?
definitely do. You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, Sean. So I'm going to let you tee it up, and then I'll just help facilitate.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what is going on. Execution might be poor here, but a tweet went out earlier with a request for a retweet. We're giving away some books, and May is in the back. Can you wave? There she is. So we have a few copies of my book, Screen Capture, to give away. The book really just looks at screen time in a new way. It's a new perspective on screen time in line with what I was talking about earlier. It's incorporation. It's not good and bad. But I guess I'll hang out with May in the back, and we'll give some books away. Is that fair?
Yes, we're going to play like an old style game.
Okay.
So you pick a number between 1 and 10 and put it behind your back.
Okay.
Many two hands.
And who's been here since 9 a.m.? Okay, this lady right here raised her hand first. Okay, let's see. And then one more person on this side. Who's been here since 9 a.m.? Okay, so I've got 2 people that have been here since 9 a.m. Pick a number between 1 and 10. And whoever gets the closest wins. Okay, Emil, your number? Ma'am, your number? 3. 5. Oh. Okay, what was the number?
4.
Okay.
It's true.
It was true.
Yeah, no
That's why I
cheating.
looked.
Yeah.
That's why I looked. Okay. Now, what's a good question? What do you want to know, Sean?
Oh, is this for the book? We can give 2 books.
You can give 2 books.
We can give 2 books.
Okay.
May, let's give 2 books.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank
Thanks.
you, Sean. Thank you so